5589-560-KKTX. Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. This is a pretty active week because even though I've never been able to find a case of somebody eating bad candy unless it was given to their child by the parent, we all worry about that.
Yeah, we do, and I'm like you. I can't remember. I hear urban legends about it, but I haven't known one for a fact. However, I do think it's still good advice to make sure that people check, giveaways. And
I remember when I was in Houston, there was a father that had poisoned his son, and I thought, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you always hear about razor blades and apples and all of that stuff, but I personally haven't witnessed that. But be on guard. Yeah, you can't give an apple away, can you? Unless it's got goo on it, and then it's suspect. I don't know. People give away whatever they want, I guess.
When I was a kid,
whatever we
used to look forward. I didn't want anything that came from a store. Give me some of those brownies. Give me some of those cookies. Give me some of that homemade candy. Give me, and those caramel apples and the ones with the red glazed stuff.
Yeah. Well, we of course we monitor our sex offenders. Traffic is probably a bigger issue.
Yeah, sex offenders.
The sex offenders. Yeah, and then kids running out into traffic. So we always want to make sure that the public is particularly watching out for little kids to break away from their parents and run out in the street, and that's always something that we talk about.
You got any of those sex offender sites in your?
I think we do have the sites on our website.
I was thinking about putting one in my yard. Just
God, man! What? Turn the lights off. That's enough.
I guess I didn't hear
you.
Not. You said, "Do we have any signs?"
He wants a sign.
Put it up.
No, I don't think we have those signs.
Oh, okay.
I love giving out the candy. Little kids come up. I'm all excited. Carol's like, really?
How many did you have last year?
Not many. 30, 50, 30. No, maybe 30, 40. Some years we'll have 50, 60.
Do you have any adults drinking?
I'm working.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Teenagers with pillow sacks.
College kids.
I'm okay with that. I don't want the candy. I'm not a candy eater, so at some point I'm trying to give it away anyway.
I told you what happened last time. Teenagers with pillowcases came to my house.
What? I forgot.
I went to Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
And I bought one of those bags of feathers.
God.
Pamela said, "What are you going to do with that?" I said, "Just hang around a while tonight and watch." 3 of them came to my door. I couldn't believe it was so wonderful.
So tell me how this goes.
I opened it up and I started throwing feathers in this kid's, and his eyes got gigantic.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is awesome. News Radio 1360 KKTX. Corpus Christi Police Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. James, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Good morning. Hey, Chief, my wife drives down Weber every day taking her kids to school, and she passes by the high school there, and, kids are running from the Whataburger over to the high school, not paying any attention to the traffic. It's as if, we're supposed to stop when the lights are green. Is there any way we can, start passing out some jaywalking tickets until they move up to the crosswalk where they're supposed to be?
Yeah, we pass out tickets. All of this stuff starts at the kitchen table, man. We pass out tickets. People pay them, I guess. We pass out more tickets, just like speeders. We pass out tickets. And so I hear you. I get frustrated about it. We talk to the school district all the time. They give announcements. We talk to the school district police. They come out and help us sometimes. But I can't sling them in jail for that. I'll just continue to write tickets.
Please do. My wife and I are, it just really burns us up that they're disregarding the traffic laws, and they're putting themselves in jeopardy. And, some person that doesn't see real well is going to come through there, and they're just going to clip one up.
And it's happened.
So anyway,
it's happened before. We'll keep the pressure on. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, bye.
560-5589, 560-KKTX. A little common courtesy in the crossworks. It works both ways. I'm willing to stop, but could you hurry your hindquarters up?
Yeah.
And get across?
And if you're jaywalking...
That lollygagging.
Yeah, if you're jaywalking and a crash does occur, you're going to be partially at fault, if not totally at fault. And so, people, they believe that they got the right of way, but you're a pedestrian in a roadway if you're jaywalking.
We were talking about sex offenders and what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do.
Correct.
This used to be a lot easier to get information on this, and golly.
Yeah, I'm playing with it too. The crimereports.com, and I don't know, but it's running slow. I don't know if everybody's bogging it down or what, but I typed in my address, and I'm not getting anything up.
I didn't get anything either.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's some technical thing going on, but generally they're pretty good. This crimesreport.com, and they'll show you what's going on in your particular neighborhood.
All right, we talked about this last week about 1,000, according to this other registered sex offenders website I'm on, 909 registered sex offenders living in Corpus Christi as of October 28th, 2014.
Yeah.
And I talked to a couple of policemen last week who believe that it's probably double.
Sure.
Because not everybody's registered.
Yeah, and not everybody follows the rules like they should. But I just popped it up, and I found one in my particular neighborhood. So it's working. It's just running slow.
And it's indecency with a child and over and over and over and over again.
And now remember, we'll put them in jail. We'll make the initial arrest. We go through the process, and the judge sets the conditions. And so that's kind of where we live. So.
Well, all right. You tell them, the sex offenders, that they have to turn their porch lights off, and that's it?
Yeah, typically. And, we'll partner with, people from the county. You'll have officers in the cars with these people, and they'll go by and check on them, knock on their doors, make sure that they're at home. So we want them to be home with the porch light off, not participating in trick-or-treating.
And if there is if you're doing neighborhood trick-or-treating, it would be a good idea for you to know where.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
Oh, did you get it to pop up?
No.
It looks like that.
Okay.
And for those of you in the radio land, if you hit one of those little red triangles there, if you put your finger over one of them, it'll pop up sex offender.
All right. I hit the wrong thing, evidently. Yeah. And there. All right. This is
crimesreport.com.
Crimereports.com.
Yes.
All right. Back to that in just a minute. Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. You had was it one of your new Tahoes explode?
What?
No, it was. It's. I think it's one of the older cars that was hit from the rear by a drunk last night, and I don't know if the actual car caught on fire. I don't have all the details yet, but if you hit a car fast enough,
spectacular fire.
Yeah,
it was another one of those. Thank you to the intoxicated drivers of the world.
Yeah.
News Radio 1360 KKTX. Police Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. We're talking about the crimereports.com. It works on his computer. It works on Sam's. I got nothing on mine.
Right. And it's pretty simple, but it's a good way to find out not only sex offenders, but what's going on
in your neighborhood.
In your neighborhood with regard to burglaries and all types of things. So.
Huh. Still nothing.
Yeah.
And it's telling me that even your neighborhood is zero incidents.
No. Yeah. I've got them in my neighborhood.
So what would this be? You've got them in your neighborhood?
Sure.
Sex offenders.
Yes.
And this just, I'm just baffled.
They're all over. And so, like I mentioned, the judge sets the conditions. There's not this blanket kind of you can't pass out candy. It just depends on the conditions that the judge has set. And so, a sex offender very well could pass out candy if the judge says he can.
Come on, that's
Or
not
she
in the.
can.
That's not in the.
That's the judge sets the conditions. Yeah.
So this is a regular condition of what? Parole?
But if you're a convicted sex offender, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go before the judge, the jury or the judge says you're convicted, and then they set out the conditions for your registration. And if you're a sex offender, then you register under those conditions. So I'm sure there's a lot of similarities in the conditions, but there are some differences too.
All right. So there's really nothing you can do?
Who?
The police.
Yeah, if they're in violation of the conditions, the court order, then yes, we can take them in.
I'm trying to figure out here what would I don't understand.
What would violate the conditions?
Well, if you're a convicted sex offender,
right?
Does it have to be with a minor? Is that the only thing that says you can't be around kids?
Yeah, so it depends on the crime. So there are other offenses that you would need to register as a sex offender, right? So if there is a rape conviction and it's an adult, then you could be made to register as a sex offender.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to the bathroom, if you're urinating in public, that's another one.
It's public lewd. However, you could, depending on what the judge says, have to register as a sex offender.
I have read crime reports where it's in plain view of minors, knowing minors are present. That probably weighs in a lot too, right?
Yeah, and that and court testimony and the actual offense, all of that, the judge takes that into play, as he or she is making the decision on whether or not the convicted person needs to register as a sex offender.
So what is the preparation like in the week prior to, like this week prior to Halloween?
So this week I've been going around to various schools. Our directed patrol officers have been talking about Halloween safety. We've been, like we always do, checking on registered sex offenders, making sure that we understand the conditions of their release. And then the actual night, we'll have additional officers out patrolling the streets, not only for sex offenders and those that are in violation, but also monitoring neighborhoods and traffic and making sure the kids are not breaking away from parents, running into the street, getting run over by cars.
Okay, I realize there are some ramifications from this sex offender thing, and some of those seem to me to be, I don't quite explain the severity of the crime. This is Bob, and Bob, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Good morning, Lago. I'd like to say, to start off with, I really support the chief and everything he does. I think he's a great guy.
Appreciate
that. Him and some of the chiefs before him get on the radio, and there's just a lot of misnomers about sex offender, of which I am one. Number one, every sex offender that is on parole in Corpus Christi is brought in October and has to sign a document that he understands the conditions of his parole on Halloween. They do have to shut their doors, turn off their lights, stay inside, can't answer their doors, and every one of them is visited by a parole team or a parole officer that night, sometimes once, sometimes twice, to make sure they abide by their conditions. They all have to take a polygraph test once a year to see if they've reoffended. They all have a program that they have to go to once a week for sometimes up to 5 or 6 years, depending on how long they're on parole. Those are the facts about sex offenders on parole. The statistical facts is you're more likely to be offended sexually by a purse snatcher than you are a convicted sex offender. The recidivate rate for sex offenders is below any other rate. It's close to less than 4% of all sex offenders that are convicted of a sex offense recidivate, and if they do, they don't recidivate for a sex offense. These are out of the Federal Crime Bureau Statistical Manual, which I'm sure the chief is aware of. Just a lot of misnomers about that.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard for people that have had sex offenses, which are extremely bad. I'm not saying anything good about that, but to go on about their lives on a day-to-day basis. And some of the sex offenders that are on parole and are on probation employ hundreds of employers in this town and put in hundreds of thousands of tax dollars back into this town, have never recidivated, have never been in trouble ever since the date of their conviction or the date of their crime, and have gone on despite of all the day-to-day hoopla that goes on about them.
All right, we never hear about that, though.
Well, you never hear about that. All you hear is a bunch of misinformation being spewed on the media and on the radio and on the TV. And now the way the media is so big, you know, God bless anybody's heart that has been offended against, but you'll hear about one in Michigan. It's on 45 radio stations, 250 TV stations, and it would have you believe that you can't even walk outside your front door without being offended. Now, the other statistic in sex offenders is they're mostly offended by people within their family, a close unit of somebody in their family, a police officer or a priest or a teacher or someone like that. There's very few predators, you know, with the bald head and the glasses on, licking their lips, hiding behind a bush on Halloween. And that I can remember, I don't think there's ever been a child offended on Halloween in this area ever. Now, I might be wrong about that, and I've been here for a long time. But even before the controls started going against the sex offenders, what I would like to see is y'all bring on people that are a little bit more educated, and because you're on the radio, because you're in the police force or in the sheriff's office, doesn't make you an expert on sex offenders. But what it does do, it plays well on TV.
Yeah, and you've been through it, and I haven't. And so you obviously will know more than I do, and I don't think anything I said was wrong. I said that the judge sets the conditions. I talked about us checking.
The judge does not set the conditions.
Who sets the conditions? Okay, so
set the conditions of them on parole. They will tell you.
Okay, so somebody other than me sets the conditions, and then we, in conjunction with probation and parole, work on Halloween night, and we go out and we do the check. I don't know anything about your polygraphs. I don't work for the county. All I talked about is what we do.
Okay, well, I can say this, and like I said, y'all do a great job. I really appreciate it. Is that if a judge sets a condition of this or that or the other, when you actually get put on parole or probation, brother, that's all out the window because they put so many restrictions on you within probation and parole that you can barely turn your head and work.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's way, 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 way more than the judge ever thought, and that's a condition not of the court, but of being on parole or being on probation. And if you violate that parole or probation, they have what they call a blue warrant that can be issued through the governor's office within 5 minutes, quicker than anything in the world. And they send a team. Just if somebody makes an accusation that they thought that you may have done something, they send a team to your work, to your church, to your house within 5 minutes, and 4 or 5 of them are kicking the door and dragging you out of there, whether you've done anything wrong or not, just because somebody thought you may have.
Good information, and I sure appreciate that. That's good information.
Well, y'all keep on and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good phone call.
Yeah, very really good. Yeah.
You one of the reasons you can't one of the reasons you don't get more information about that is I have tried this in the past, and people who have done this are reticent to come on the radio and talk about it.
Yeah, that was a good one. I appreciate that.
It's Lago in the Morning. News Radio 1360 KKTX. Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. Kelly, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Chief. This is in reference, I know we were discussing sex offenders and Halloween, and then you had a previous caller who utilized statistics and almost tried to make himself appear to be the victim of the situation. And as someone who endured abuse for numerous years, I'm highly offended by his take on it, because, of course, he's the innocent party. And, yes, he may have all these mandates and restrictions and everything passed on by a judge, but what type of prison did he put his victim in for the rest of their life?
Well,
and
I had a completely different take on that. I didn't hear him trying to make himself out as a victim. He said, I did it.
I think he was trying to spew forth a lot of numbers and a lot of statistics, and that's all well and good. Maybe he doesn't repeat, but it does repeat. It's a cyclic thing, and whether he wants to accept it or not, or any abuser wants to accept it or not, the person that they abuse is forever put in a prison, an emotional prison, by the people that affect them. So I'm so sorry if he has to go have a lie detector test or he can't pass out candy or anything of those sorts. But what he did to his victim isn't something that can be put down on a piece of paper and after 18 years, it's over with.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so just like if somebody with a DWI, maybe they don't repeat or whatever the case may be. But if they kill somebody or if they maim somebody, that person has to live with it and they get to go on with their life. He has a job, he has whatever, and he just goes on about his life. But what about his victim? And that's the part where, giving numbers and trying to make it seem like, this doesn't happen and this happens and this doesn't happen. And it's all a bunch of confusing data to almost justify their behavior.
Well, the confusing data seems to be, for me anyway, is regardless of the crime, the victims seem to be forgotten in what happens. And I find it offensive for just about everybody who's minding their own business who gets set upon by some nutwat or freak. And then you have to go through a whole long process that they call the judicial system while things get worked out. And I find that really distasteful.
Well, when I listened to him, he did not seem to have, I don't know the man, I have no idea who he is, I don't know how the age of his victim or whatever it is, but he just seemed very, nonchalant about, I'm a sex offender and I'm this and I'm that. And that's like someone saying, okay, I'm a recovering addict. Okay, usually a recovering addict only impacts themselves. They don't and besides, just immediate numbers. This is someone who actually violated someone.
Let me just say that, I know he had he said whatever he said. We're very in tune with our victims within our police department. I know, but I
was very insulted.
Yes, ma'am.
But 13 years to have someone, I never got a chance to confront my person because at my age, it wasn't as well, known. It wasn't spoken about as freely as it is now.
Yeah.
But there's some people who never get to confront the person that victimized them. Yeah. And for him to get on there like that, I would love to be in a room with him by myself.
Yeah. So all I was going to say is that we have a pretty good victims outreach system within the police department.
Right. And I turned my life around and used that to help others.
Yes.
But there's some that don't get to do that. But I was just highly offended. And on behalf of everyone who's been victimized by someone else, especially a child, for someone to get on a goal to say, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this. Well, why don't you take that emotional toll that you have to carry the rest of your life when you don't trust somebody?
All right. I appreciate the call. Thank you. We don't? That's unfortunate. Yeah. All right, Chief, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
good presentation last week at the council.
Yeah, I was getting. We're out in force tonight for Halloween. So
tonight,
yes, or Halloween night. I'm sorry, Friday.
Okay. You know, and I heard on the Monday night football broadcast, one of the small towns in Texas canceled Halloween because their football team is in the playoffs. God, I love Texas. Have yourself a Bluebell Country Day.